wonderful, speakers with us. And this topic today is going to, really address the real issues that education system is facing. We all are aware that earlier things used to change in a century. Now that reduced to 30 years. Then it reduced to 10 years. And now we see every day things are changing. But our education system has not kept pace with this change. The curriculum is same, the methodology is same, and not much has been addressed to keep pace with the change. And therefore, this has left a huge gap between what is required and what the education system is offering. To address this, we have these speakers with us who will guide us as to how we should take education or how we should work on the education system, and will throw light on this important topic, which is going to shape the next generation, which is going to shape the leaders of tomorrow. Can we start the topic? We start with Professor Xavier, and his topic is the future of education. Professor Xavier has been a visionary, and he has guided IIM Ranchi from the very beginning, and he's mentored thousands and thousands of students. It will be really good to hear from him today. Over to you, Professor Xavier.
Thank you, Mr. Santosh, and good evening to all of you. Let me at the outset congratulate Mr. Rajiv Gupta for putting together a wonderful set of speakers and selecting an ideal topic. And of course, I'm really proud to be with Santosh, because you all know that people talk about thinking outside the box, but Santosh believes in dissolving the box itself. So I think that's what he probably expects today. He wants to dissolve education. Dissolve the boundaries.
Yeah, I think Professor Xavier is facing some technical issues. And the moment he's back, he will be guiding us. So till then, can we have Sriranjan sir?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Right. So.
And he's worked a lot in the early childhood education and development, and it is absolutely wonderful to hear from him. Whenever I talk about education, his eyes gets brighter, and he has so many things to offer.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody.
Sir, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And I think the future of education lies with early childhood. If we don't address this, we are going to miss out on the entire developmental arena. Often in India, people raise this question that why we are not able to produce innovators, why we have not been able to produce researchers, R&D and other aspects, why we have not have so many intellectual property or IPRs basically done by Indians. And the reason is the early childhood. The reason is not the child to be blamed, but reason is that we have not given enough attention to early childhood. So my topic is early childhood education and development for actually rational national development. And I'll come to that, how we do it. My association with early childhood was from 2009 to 2014. I was in charge of ICDS, in charge of nutrition, and I had done ICDS mission, Sabla, the Matritva Vandana Yojana, the ECCE national policy, which came in 2013. Now, let me start with the
Hello.
status of India's children. Now, we all know that early childhood is inseparable, and we have to take care of survival, we have to take care of nutrition, we have to take care of health and early learning for all these development. The photograph here has actually stirred the conscience of the nation recently. These are children whose midday meal and whose Anganwadi meals were stopped and they were hungry.
Sri Ranjan sir, just a small request, sir. Sir, kindly do a slide share view.
Oh,
Slide
right.
share
Sorry.
view, kindly on slide share view.
Sorry. So,
Yeah, it's okay.
so this is inseparable, as I have said. And remember, I always wondered. There was a poetry called Rainbow, and Charles Wordsworth said, "Child is the father of the man." Here I have made it father or mother of the man or woman. And I never got that how child could be the father or mother of the woman. And we will know that if we don't attain our full potential in the early childhood, we are likely to be missing out on life. Similarly, if you remember Lord Krishna showing the mouth to Yashoda, where the entire universe was visible. So child is the epitome of universe, and you can attain the universal and universe like of potential attainment if we attain to this early childhood. Now, in 2011, we had about 16 crore children, of which only 7 crore are attending in the ICDS. And I'll tell that why Anganwadi is missing out on many things. We have very low health, nutrition, and education attributes. In fact, every third child, and for Jharkhand, it would be even worse. Every third child is underweight, and stunted, and every fifth child is wasted. In fact, so much so that the every second woman is actually anemic, and this leads to the cycle of perpetuation of undernutrition. There is also IMR, MMR kind of issue. Every third child is actually, second or third child is missing out on even preschool. They are missing out on preschool. We all know that we cannot afford to postpone investing in early childhood. And as per SDG, we have to end all forms of malnutrition by 2030. It is a far cry. It is very distant goal. Undernutrition achievement during MDG was only 1% per annum. The ask today is almost 3% per annum to reduce and to reach by 2030 all these undernutrition. Similarly, in the preschool, you will come to the ACER, there is very inappropriate curricula, inappropriate age entry, poor quality of teachers, and very suboptimal attainments. Now, child development theme wise, and I am coming to this concept because nature and nurture theme both reinforce each other. So the genetics and environment, if we don't give good protective environment, if the external environment does not have enough stimulus, then the proximal environment is so important that the stimulation would not bring the attainment of potential. Similarly, we cannot treat child as passive entity. Child is a living, thriving human, encapsulated as a seed. And if we do not take care, then we are going to have problem. There is also this concept of meso, micro, and exosystem. We all know peers, school, home environment. This is important. But in actual life, if we do not take care at the family level, then it is very difficult for child. And child is a very fast learner. Now I'll come to this slide. I want to devote a bit of time. You know, I'm coming to this. This is the brain development graph. And this is by Heckman, who got Nobel Prize in economics, and he has done very great study on this. So in the early childhood, I think most of us know that 80% of brain development takes place by 2 years, and by 3 years, first 3 years, 90% brain development takes place. So the stimulation here is the neuron formation, and in fact, over 1 million new neural connections takes place per second in the early childhood, in the first year or first 6 months of the childhood. And gradually these form by iterative process. There is a process called serve and return. So as much, even if child is not responding, not listening, or not responding to the words or verbal thing, appears to be silent, yet multitude of brain and neural activity takes place and memory is formed. And I will bring it to you the notice that the return on investment. Now the green graph is the rate of return. So the rate of return, according to Professor Heckman, is actually up to 18, 1:18, and which reduces in the early childhood, and after preschool it reduces to almost 2.5, and after school it reduces to 1.5 rate of return. So against 18 in the early childhood, if we are rate of return, but the general tendency by the parents are that they will give higher fee in technical education. They will give very much attention for medical coaching, engineering coaching, but they forget this line.
Wonderful.
This is another achievement gap study in the this is called 30 million gap. Hertz has studied this. It says that professional family, if they talk among themselves, both the parents talk among themselves in the early years of the child, their vocabulary is 30 million higher than the poorly non-communicative family. And it is here that we have to understand that child cannot be treated as a passive thing. Now, rate of return, I had already said that there are 18 times of return. It has 2 to 3% of GDP value addition. But if we don't take action on early childhood, then actually it reduces your global GDP by 11%. Similarly, there is on the micronutrient 37:1 kind of rate of return is seen for nutrition investment. A longitudinal study by World Bank people called Vinita Kaul and Shankar had brought out that every dollar spent on ECC brings about $1,290 return in early childhood. Even the poor ICDS, which is criticized for a lot of activity, the net ICDS return for every dollar is almost $4 net. And this study was done in 2007.
Wonderful.
And based on that. So we have to understand this is as a very important thing. But the reality. Now, 2019, the annual State of Education report, ASER, everybody knows this. This is now done every 2 years. ASER has brought out stark reality. And that reality is that only 1 out of 3 students in grade 3 can even one out of 3 students cannot even read according to in grade 3 of class 1. Similarly, only about 2 in every 10, that means only about 20% children, they do 5-year-old children, they were able to do only 3 cognitive tasks. In fact, many of them were not able to do the cognitive tasks. Similarly, ASER report 2018, it says 50% of children in grade 5 could read only grade 2 level, only 50%, not even 60 or 70. So these are stark reality. Children have very poor base because we are not able to attend to the early childhood. Similarly, if you see this 30 million gap I've already said, uh, there is another problem. The only 50% children could do seriation, uh, then pattern identification, and also puzzle of elephant picture. But if they are given two similar, same letter kind of thing, they were unable to do that. Similarly, a longitudinal study of impact on education done by Ambedkar University and ASA, they said that those children which are doing sequential thinking at age 5 has had a better early language. So now, unfortunately, we think that the play is not good thing. We had that padhoge, likhoge, to kheloge, kudoge, to badoge kharab kind of thing. In fact, in childhood, it is reverse. If यदि खेलो कूदोगे नहीं तो तुम खराब जरूर बनोगे. So this is what is important, that you must play in early childhood. And in fact, why play has reduced? Because many parents have stopped. In urban area there is the space is shrinking, so they playful learning has very important aspect. Formal teaching is in early childhood, that is basically 0 to 8 years. Formal teaching, particularly 0 to 5 years and 0 to 6 years, is actually counterproductive. Now, similarly, if you see this, there is double default. Now, dual default is that we are sending 10% children even at the age of 4 to school class 1. Similarly, 34% children are going at age 5 to class 1. In fact, the national policy on education has said that 48% of children at age 5 are enrolled before age. And they have said this is one of the biggest challenge which we are facing. The parents' aspiration, parents' failure is being pushed. The children are being pushed to formal education before time for and in reading 3R, reading, writing, and arithmetic, which is deleterious for child development. So, and it is clearly mentioned in the draft education policy that often these are the children that actually they remain behind in primary school and beyond. Why is it so? Because there is also early in the private those kindergarten or kidji and all kind of thing, there are elderly people, and that's why their performance seems to be better. So in the elderly people in the early years show better result, but they put the younger children as a handicap, and we are pushing them very hard. So this is not correct, and we should rectify this. And the national education policy also put it that. Now coming to the children, and as I have said, the parents are thinking that the playful activity, playing with the children, and playing is learning tool. But even teachers have a tendency that in preschool they teach children. This is very important. They say in preschool we teach children, but in primary school we teach subjects like say arithmetic, English kind of thing. Now this linearity of curriculum, not taking child as a continuous developmental process, is the biggest bane and is deleterious. We often give work demand, leave parent with little time and energy. But remember, women participation in work in India has reduced, and it is only 30% compared to the China and other developed country, which is very high, 70%, 75%. So if the work participation, yes, they are busy at home. I appreciate their contribution to the family and to the economy. But at the same time, There are reports of NK Arora and other people that mothers are not devoting, or the parents actually, why should mothers be only sharing the responsibility? The parents are not attending to children. Perhaps they are devoting on digital media time, on social media, or on TV, on luxury, on leisure, etc., etc. So the problem lies there, and the playful attention is required. Now, what can be done? Now,
Wonderful.
we should
Wonderful.
learn.
So, sir,
We
we'll
should.
come back to you again. I think.
Okay. Okay. So if I have passed the time,
I
then
think
it's okay. Yeah.
We got a wonderful idea as to where we should have been investing and how we are going wrong in investing at wrong places, because as you told that it impacts 11% of the GDP. Now
Yeah.
if $1 is invested in early childhood, then the return is around $4. So
Four
that
is
at
for
least,
RCBS, but the return is up to $80.
absolutely, absolutely. So there's it was a wonderful idea where should we should be investing in education, but we are not doing it in the right spirit. So it
If
was
you
a
just,
wonderful idea, sir, and we'll come back to you again
yeah,
for
okay,
greater
thank you.
details on that. We'll come back to Professor Xavier. Probably he's joined us.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Yeah, he joined us. There was a technical glitch there, but he's always back, and this time he'll be better. I know that. So over to you, Professor Xavier.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sorry about this technical glitch, but I started off with that idea that things haven't changed, right? Which is what Santosh started with. So basic idea is, there is an agricultural age model, then an industrial age model, then you have the information age model.
Correct.
If you take, for example, a retail store, you have all three models being used in the country. You have the mom and pop stores, the local neighborhood stores. You have the supermarkets in big cities. And top of it, you have these online stores, Amazon, Big Basket, and so on and so forth. Now, you take any other industry, everywhere, there is an information model. And most of the people are migrating to the information age model. But except in education, the problem with education is that we are completely stuck in the industrial age model. What do I mean by that? Yeah. In a factory, what you do is, one side you throw in the raw materials, you process it, other end in batches, you keep producing output. So all the colleges have become like this. Graduate producing factories, school graduates, college graduates, whatever it is, you put them on one side and you process, grind them, and then other end you throw them, chew them out, and then you say that they are the great citizens. Okay. Now, this has to change. This is the fundamental problem, both in school as well as in higher education. Everywhere, actually, we start on a particular day, end on a particular day, use the same kind of assessment methods, and then say that you are not qualified. You don't deserve to really, get a pass. But you are never bothered to develop a system which will suit the students, you see. That is the problem. In the past, of course, parents never bothered. But today's problem is, children are actually having a tough time in the school. When they come out, they have to attend the tuition. Then they have to actually, go through so many rigmaroles. Now, this is the biggest hurdle. So how do you really make appealing, learning appealing to the child? That is pretty much important. So even at the school level, what reforms have we done? I think, we are comfortable with the chalk and talk. So still teachers use the same thing. After that, the PowerPoint came. So once the PowerPoint came, people thought that, this is the fantastic thing. So you don't need to know anything. Write all the slides, come back and read. So either the fellow who reads understands, nor the guy who listens understands anything. And this is what actually we call teaching today. It is not teaching, it is cheating. This is what actually we are doing today. Now, we have not grown beyond that. This is the problem. How do you make education relevant for the present generation? How do you make it appealing for the new generation? And how do you build information age education models? I mean, that is the question I'm raising here. I'll try to answer a few of them because I have some more time, and then leave it open for discussion, because there's no definitive answer yet. But all of us know that we need to fix our education system. So
Right,
today,
sir.
that is something I think all of us agree here in this panel. Maybe we have differing viewpoints. So Ranjan
The
Saab
approaches are different, but the objective is same, right?
objective is the same. Everyone feels, change is needed. So our Sri Ranjan Saab, definitely he has very strong views on actually why are we not able to take the children along? Why do you leave out so many of them out of the main system? So he is concerned. I think every one of the speakers here is concerned at their own levels as to, why is education not changed? This is the basic problem. So the answer lies in, basically some kind of a mapping. So what you really do is you try to understand, for example, what was education pre-industrial days and what is education post-information age. Marry the two concepts, you'll get lots of ideas. This is my theory. Now, you may or may not agree with me, but then you can come up with lots of ideas. How was it, in the pre-industrial age? You had the Gurukula education. So in the Gurukula education, it's a one-to-one. The guru knew everything about the student. He did not teach the same lesson, even if there are 10 students with him. He would ask one fellow to go just fetch water for 1 year and not even teach him alphabets. There's another guy, he may be teaching actually how to do sword fighting. And at some point of time, he said that, yes, my dear son, now you are ready to face the world. Now you go out. That is what the guru did, right?
Correct.
Now we came to the information age and we lost the essence of the Gurukula, and we took all the ill effects of actually the British education system of producing, these clerks. And we have got into the syllabus, examination, passing, and then, you are good to go. Now today, I mean, the fellows who come out, they hardly use anything that they learn. And the industry people also don't find anything useful in them. So slowly companies like Google, many other top IT companies have started actually doing away with this degree requirement. They are saying, if you have these skills, come and join us. I am not bothered whether you have this degree or that degree from this college, that college, nothing really matters. They are only looking at certain skills, which is what the gurus imparted. The guru imparted skills in, certain, martial arts, or actually the critical thinking, and then how to lead life, and then sent him out. So he came out with certain skills and the critical thinking ability. And unfortunately, our students who come out today neither have the critical thinking ability nor have the skills to really, lead.
Only the degrees are there.
That they have lots of degrees. Today, many degrees. If you are a doctor, it's not enough with MBBS. You have to have a MD. You have to have all kinds of specializations and so on and so forth. Still, they are not as good as our, old-time physician, family physician, RMP, who would come and actually touch and feel you and say that this is your problem. So there is something fundamentally wrong. So the marrying of that concept, can we really build the essence of Gurukula model and then, build a information age model? So you have to make education one-to-one. Can you make education customized? And and make education lifelong. I mean, these are the essence that we can learn from the Gurukula system. So what offers these facilities? It is only the information technology that offers this facility. So using IT, it is possible to customize education. Today, we can deliver. So no two students will study the same subject. Depending on individual's ability, you can actually customize and then approach different students. So I'm not going to elaborate on the models, but I'm only giving you the principles. Now the future is going to be this, that it will be, customized, personalized, one-to-one kind of a education. It will not be degree driven, but it will be driven towards actually acquiring certain skills. And the model which I am calling is hop on, hop off model. So it is not a question of, somebody joining at a particular batch and then finishing at the end of 2 years or 3 years, but the students will actually join a program at any point of time when they need it. They'll leave, they'll go work, come back, join again, and then they'll work on it. So I have now designed a
Perfect.
program on artificial intelligence and, deep learning, machine learning and deep learning, where I have divided it into 3 modules. We have introduced hop on, hop off model. So you join the first module, go out work. After business analytics, you go work somewhere. Come back and then come for machine learning. And then after working for some time, come back again. So what I'm saying is, this can be done for every program, every degree at the higher education level. But of course, the basic education level, elementary education, it has to be a Gurukula model where I want a guru, customized, personalized, one-to-one kind of education has to be done. This is my initial thoughts. I'll come back to you in the second round of discussions. Thanks, Santosh.
And I agree. Wonderful, sir. I agree to your point. I agree to the hop on and hop off model, because what it does is that whatever you have learned, you can put that learning to practice immediately, and then learn from that practice and again come back to your education and again learn from there. So it's a continuous learning loop that you want to put the students into, which is a wonderful approach, and I think that is where the future lies, because education has to be customized. It has to work for the benefit of the people, and it has to provide solutions for the society. It should not only create scholars without creating any who are not fit to create any solutions for the world, right? So what you're talking of is you want practical guys who can create solutions, learn, again come back to work, again learn, and again come back to work. Wonderful, sir.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful idea, and I think we'll come back to you again. Now we have with us Dr. Raman Jha. Dr. Raman Jha has been working with a lot of students. He's the director of Amity, Jharkhand, and I'm sure that he'll be able to throw a lot of light for the youth, students in school and in university. Over to you, Mr. Raman Jha.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. To begin with, I must thank the earlier two
Great
speakers.
to have you, sir.
Can I begin?
Great to have you, sir.
Thank you so much. My job has been made easy by the earlier two speakers who have already introduced the topic, and I wish to possibly fill in the gaps which they felt are present in the education system. The topic given is so broad that education system at the crossroads. Now, initially, when you think of this word crossroad, it does depict confusion. But to me, it appears as the number of possibilities. When education has moved from historic time to the present time, there will be, of course, challenges, and there have been challenges. But the present time, which offers the online learning, is the time where Dr. Xavier sir also mentioned that the IT related based education is the future. I have generally been inspired by the possibilities, and the present time gives us infinite possibilities. That is what I feel. I begin by saying that time changes from outside, but people change from inside. So
Wonderful.
that's the bottom line. So the change has to be beginning from inside. So that is the internal self, which is the inner cosmic space, has to be impacted mostly by individual, seeing the possibilities all around in the external world. As I move to the topic, I wanted to put it this way, that we have moved from the earlier Gurukul system, wherein we used to call that as sage on the stage, to present day, which is the guide on the side. Now that is how the teachers or the gurus have undergone a change, And thanks to the technology, the system, the education, the present time, modern time, and all that. The agenda of my talk have been divided into these. One would only mention that education does not stop at the school level, which was very clearly spelled out by the first speaker, sir. And then it goes to the college, university, and ultimately to the research level, and whether we are able to take out or do something new in the innovation arena, or the industry part where the production goes on, and the marketing and its consumption. So education is all through life, and which was also spelled by earlier speaker once again. Then I will go on to the importance of the online, which is my topic for the day, online training and education. Go on to some mega trends which are available presently, and how the virtual labs are being seen in the global arena as well as the Indian thing. And then what are the basics of education, the quality and the hallmark of education, the very purpose of education, some crisis which we see on the leadership side and possible way out. And then as expected, everybody is expecting that there should be a model wherein everything is included. So inclusion of old and the new system, and we have called this as integrated model of higher education, which is little different from, or rather away from, the hip-off and hip-on and hip-off models suggested by sir earlier. I have some suggestion and on the policy and other matters as well. Let me be little faster so as to finish in time. The importance of online and training and education cannot be overstated but by understanding that you see that the online or distance education is one of the top 10 outstanding achievement of the current century, rather the last century itself. Internet, which is still young, holds infinite possibilities which are forced by the MOOCs, massive online courses and programs available. Privatization itself has led to the distance education and online education, because you cannot afford to have costly instruments, heavy instruments which are required for especially mechanical and civil engineering labs. Corporatization of higher education has also resulted into online education moves. Competition with traditional universities have also resulted, because it was initially mostly the government universities which were providing these engineering education and science education, and they could afford large machines. But once it comes to the corporate, the cost, the quality and accessibility, and of course the situation, the financial situation of the company matters. Therefore, all these has led to the online education system. We therefore understand that there is a need for an online system with, of course, huge possibilities of improvement. We also see that there are dissatisfaction in the engineering and science students when they see the online education system without the labs. Of course, they will be dissatisfied, and therefore the virtual labs will come in. The instructors or the teachers are not going to be without job. They will become more important, as talent cannot be replaced. That's what I feel. And good teacher in a classroom remains a good teacher online as well. So there is no dearth of good teacher in India. In the online or the web-based education, two concerns or issues were quality and attrition rate. The quality of education in online system was not that high. That is why the people had a high attrition rate, and we had hardly 10% people completing their full education on the online system, and now it has gone to maybe around 30%. So the trend has been increasing towards online as a whole. But we all must understand that the holistic consideration is a must. So you cannot just have online classes. It has to be added with classroom teaching as well as on-job teaching as well as informal, which is the peer or the self-education. And it is ultimate that the active blended learning will evolve with time, and which will be the future. The advantages or the aspects of online platform which I am talking on is of course the accessibility and lifelong education, which is continuing education, and it is also available from home for every individual, including the housewives, the old, and everyone who is interested. And the cost would obviously drop down, therefore the advantage. The issue remains whether these particular education will have any equivalence with the traditional system or no, and whether we can sustain this form of learning for long. Quality and attrition I have already mentioned. High level of motivation is a must, because teachers in the classroom are themselves motivators, but online teaching will have to be self-motivation aim, otherwise it may prove to be fatal. What are the trends, the current trends which are going on across the globe? It is the democratization of knowledge and access. Everyone is assured of the access of available knowledge and its depth. Now, how can that happen unless you get into the IT mode? The second point is the contestability of market and funding. You can see that the government funds have been now constrained in funding to the institute for infrastructure. Even the funding to the industry, funding by the industry has been reduced, and therefore these costs will have to be now taken up either by the students or by the students, the industry or the students themselves. The digital technologies and its improvement is the real high trend, the mega trend, which we all understand and know, and that is why we are talking to each other. Global mobility. See, we were moving around and we became a global village, and if you adopt the virtual world or virtual way of teaching, we are mobile everywhere. And then the integration with the industry vis-a-vis the technologies and the delivery of education is the modern trend. Just to mention a few points on the blended learning, which I said earlier, you can look at the possibilities of learning systems which are available. The traditional labs are available. Online training has now begun and then taken up a big turn. Discussion boards are available. Social network platforms are available. Asynchronous web or the learning management system is available. Informal learning is available. Virtual labs are now available in a big way. The classrooms, either on virtual or physical systems, are available. Remote labs, the blogging, email, instant messaging, synchronous which virtual lab, again classrooms, audio or visual video conferencing, and the mobile learning. So a number of ways of delivery of the learning methods to the student, and therefore this is a good crossroad, and I would vouch that the time is very good, and then one has to choose from these and a blended learning can evolve. What is the scenario in the global world? You can see Audacity, which was started by Thrun, 5 lakh students had joined right in the first few weeks. Coursera, which started long back by the Andrew and Kohler, they had 20 lakh students enrolled for it. Cisco itself has 300 videos and which has earned around 100 million per annum is the income from distance education or the courses online. The American Society of Training and Development grew from 8% in 1999 to 28 to 35% in 2005. The web conferencing itself gave them the earning of around 11 billion in 2011. And we are all aware that Harvard, MIT, Berkeley joined together to draw out a $60 million distance education program through edX, and they had a huge change in the education system. The Phoenix University has spent around $100,000 only on distance education. IDP has reported that Asia has grown from 17 million to almost 87 million in 2020 on the online platform. 25% in US are on the online education mode. Over half is online education now and henceforth. Therefore, if we are able to take care of 3 important points to be blended in this particular system, which is education, the training and the business, these 3 points, and keeping in view the 3 iron triangles, the cost, access and the quality, we are through, and education can take a bigger turn in the blended environment. What is the Indian situation and how is Indian government actually responded to is very important for all of us. I must state that MHRD, looking at the world situation, has already initiated this virtual labs, and the virtuallab.co.in can be visited by all of us, and it has been led by IIT Delhi, and all the IITs have joined together to develop the laboratory environment in the virtual world, and students can have the real feel of the labs also. Therefore, engineering and science students should not drop out of this particular online mode, because online labs are getting available. You have the remote access or remote labs also available, wherein there can be a laboratory set up at some place somewhere in the world, and you will have a computer interface. You can give your data from here, and the machine there can do the experiment for you, and the data with analysis can come back to you. That is the embedded system coming in. The government has also established these labs to enthuse students for coming to the science arena, provide these learning management systems also, like web resources, the video lectures, the animated and demonstrations, as well as the evaluation part. It can also, of course, be able to share the costly equipments and resources. The areas which are covered in these Indian virtual labs, you can visit any of the IIT, especially IIT Bombay and IIT Delhi. They are doing a lot of work on the areas of electronics and communication, computer science, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, biotechnology, biomedical, civil engineering, physical sciences, chemical sciences, and so on. If you want me to stop at this point, I can come back to these once
come
again.
back to you. We'll certainly come back to you. It was very enlightening, and your virtual labs that you're talking of is certainly going to increase the engagement level of the students, because when the engagement level increases, the learning becomes more deeper, and the students or the learner is able to apply that in real life scenario much better. So it was a wonderful, introduction to how the youth and how the education is, is evolving over a period of time. Now I've seen some very interesting trends like Deloitte's and Ernst & Young to fill the gap, the skill gap. Now Deloitte's and Ernst & Young, I've seen they are coming up with programs wherein, the students from college, they can enroll in that so that they become industry ready. And from there, it is easier for them to pick up, because they do develop certain skills during these programs. So now going, to the industry, what the industry wants, we have with us Mr. Pillai, who is from the industry, and who will give us an idea as to what the industry expects, from the education system, what products the industry wants from the education system, so that the industry can actually, compete with the in the new age scenario. So to compete with the new age scenario, it is not just the good strategies that will work, but along with the strategies, you need people who will support those, who will support that strategy, right? And in order to develop that skill set amongst people, and how do we do that? We have Mr. Pillai to throw some light on it. Mr. Pillai, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening.
Very good evening, sir.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank Saurabh for this invitation, and especially to TEDxKanke for arranging this program. A very fantastic subject, educational system at the crossroad. Now, the previous three speakers who spoke before me, they were all eminent educationalists, have been in the field of education. And so my talk will be something totally different. I'll be talking from the point of view of how do we utilize, how does the industry utilize the students coming out of the various colleges, institutes, etc. When Alvin Toffler wrote the book, Future Shock, in 1970, he had envisioned that there will be a huge change. And the change was not on account of technology. The change he was envisaging on account of an overall psychological change in the society. And a totally, a different society will come through. Now, if you really look at it, I am sure even Alvin Toffler would not have imagined the amount of change which has happened with this pandemic. Why are we even discussing today? As today is an important point, because this pandemic, COVID-19, as we all know, has really put the world into a topsy-turvy. And how has it affected? It has affected almost every sphere of the human life. It has affected every country. It has affected every people. So be it education, be it industry, be it travel and tourism, you look at, or be it healthcare, it is effective. And what has been
everything.
the most important or most significant effect is education. 1.2 billion students across the globe, 1.2 billion students across the globe are sitting at home. You know, all their schools are closed, colleges are closed, they're working from home. Almost 72% of the actual students in the world is today sitting at home. Fine. What is the the best part of a human being is when there is a calamity, it really thinks something out of the box. You have written that book, fantastic book, Saurabhji, but Santoshji, but the same way, human capital is able to think totally different. And that exactly is what we have done. But have we done the right thing? So there is an online. So today there is a discussion on online studies, whether it's a primary school, whether it's a middle school, whether it's a university, everywhere there's a talk about online. And it becomes, there is a lot of talk that why not we make online education the in thing, and tomorrow's world, the post-COVID world becomes a scenario where education is almost online. Well, I will come to that point. What I would like to more specify is a output of the university, output of the educational system is technically the input of the industry, input of the organization. So this is a fundamental point which one has to really look at it. So if the educational systems are actually generating an output which is not meeting the requirement of the industry, of the organization, then that educational system is of no use. Okay. So even if I take 6 months back, there have been a lot of discussions. Is the industry getting the right type of students from the educational institute? And the answer is no. Let me be very clear. Answer is no. Now, a very important caveat I would like to say before we, even go further. I think we have to look at, there are a lot of good points. We can think a lot of points why we have not received, a lot of Nobel Prizes, why we don't have patents, why there's not importance of research. That's a different topic. I'm not going into that. But one other point which is very important, we have to look at the demography of the Indian country. We are primarily a middle class society. And most of the people in the middle class society, they have only one dream when they have children to provide education for what? Well, ideally you can say for developing into a wholesome person, but no, the reality is we send children to schools, colleges, etc., 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 for landing a good job, landing a good career, to have a successful life. This is the reality. People may disagree, but I am telling you the ground reality that has been unfortunately the point. People don't look at how an educational system can really bring in a lot of researchers. No, they look at, can my child get a job in the civil services? Can he get a job in a multinational? Can he get a job even as a clerk in a government department? So that has been the real thought process of the Indian middle class society, which is in paramount numbers today. Now coming back to the industry, okay, what does the industry look? So I can tell you from our side, because of the pandemic, I work in an engineering industry. Generally, it has been thought that an engineering industry, a concept of work from home cannot be possible. When you are working in a software industry, it's perhaps comparatively easier. But when you work in an absolutely manufacturing industry, is it possible to implement the work from home? I think to some extent, yes. Maybe 30% yes, not the 70%. So still we need certain physical activity in the manufacturing sector. But as Dr. Xavier did mention, the industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, now we are in the industry 4.0. The emphasis of industry 4.0 where there will be a lot of internet-related activities, where a lot of physical activities which were actually controlled by human beings in the factory will automatically be reduced. And because of that, a lot of more automation will come. Automation will come. So that is another point. Coming back, what should be the curriculum of the universities and colleges? Now, I am totally for it, particularly if you are looking into an administrative job, if you are looking into a postgraduate activities, definitely one can look at online services. One of the advantage of online education is, as even Dr. Jha did mention, you can get the knowledge. Ultimately, in earlier days, knowledge was very important. I remember in my college, BITS Pillai, the university emblem used to say, Jnanam Paramam Balam. Knowledge is power supreme. But is today that Jnanam Paramam Balam has the same significance? The answer is no. The answer is no. Because knowledge is available. Anybody can get knowledge. It's available. Just you click off a button, you get a knowledge. So today what is important is application of knowledge is more important than the knowledge. So what happens is, does the universities teach application of knowledge? I think that is more important to the industry. How a knowledge has to be applied. Nuclear engineering or nuclear science, a knowledge of nuclear science is great. But if you are not applying the knowledge of nuclear science in the right way, or the spacecraft, the space technology, if you are applying in the right way. So my point here is, definitely industry is also aware about the present situation. Industry is never happy because a student coming out, somebody did mention, one of my earlier esteemed speaker did mention that today's educational system has become like a mass produced. It's like a mass produced students are coming out. And when, I'm sorry to say that, when we get the people in the industry, it becomes absolutely difficult to even put them on a job or even put them on a training, because their knowledge, the grasp what they have about the industry is very, very minimal or very, very poor. So what exactly today the industry looks at educational institution? Definitely, I am of the strong opinion that when you have areas like engineering or other area, the online education for which there's a lot of thought process is being given today, a lot of emphasis is being given today, is not sufficient. You have to have a physical movement. I always talk, I gave an example. If it is only theoretical knowledge, can a person who is sitting in his house watch videos of how Tendulkar is batting, or how Bishan Singh Bodhi has been bowling, or how some top footballers of the world, whether it is Zinedine Zidane or anybody, or Messi, any of those players are playing, and they say, yeah, if the ball comes from the left, you have to do like this. I think that theory is only giving you some 5% or 10%. To get to the real actual world, a player has to go and play with the people. So my point is, it is exactly that. When he plays with the people, he understands the reality, which is the ground reality is more important than the theoretical reality. I can tell you one thing, what we learn in colleges is never used in the actual life. I am an electrical engineer, passed out from BITS Pillai in 73. In my 47 years of career, I have never used electrical engineering. I have been using more of mechanical. You learn when you are with the people. So my point is, the emphasis on just online is not good. You need to have practical experiences. You have to have flesh and blood. And one of the biggest areas of learning is when you watch others. How does a player become a better player? When he's playing in a team, he watches some other player and then he understands, yes, I should have done this or I should do like this. Similarly is the case with education. When you are in a class, you are able to see, you are able to feel the other fellow students who are there studying with you. With them, you excel. You cannot run, a 100-meter race alone. If you're running a 100-meter race alone, your timing will never be good. You have to run a 100-meter race along with others so that the feel of competition is there. The feel of competition is very important. Without the feel of competition, you become complacent. My point is, I'm trying to, within the time limit of Rajiv was very particular that 10 minutes is the time one should take it. So my point is, definitely industry needs people with a lot of changes in the attitude, a lot of changes in the thought process. And it is definitely, if you're looking at a job, there is a certain aspect. But I'll not go into the second part that, how do we actually develop researchers? The country doesn't have researchers. Country do not have R&D. Let me be very frank, when Prime Minister Modi said, why should you not make a phone which is made in India, developed in India, instead of importing and assembling those phones of Chinese make in India? Don't we have the capability? We do have. But there are reasons for that. So we are not going into that point. My point today is that in the days to come, there will be a hybrid model, which is very essential. And that is what the industry also looks at educational institutions. Last point, I want to make just half a minute point. I think the industry academia coordination is not at all happening in India. Not at all happening. There may be a lot of MOU signing between one college and another industry, but that is not the right way. The right way is people from the industry should go to the colleges, teach for 2 years. Teachers from the university should come to the industry, work for 2 years. I think that type of interaction is very essential, which has not been happening. Various forums, there have been a lot of talk, but the net result has been, I would like to say, its net result has been zero. Perhaps we should think of, when we give a suggestion, that this should be perhaps the single most important aspect as far as industry, academia is concerned. Thank you very much, and we'll go ahead further.
Right, sir. I'm sure that, the extremes of only classroom and technology, it has to come together and then the magic happens. Both the classroom and the technology, when they come together, magic is bound to happen. But alone, I don't think, it is going to last. So that hybrid model is something which is, actually coming out. Industry is actually knocking at, in India, it's knocking at industry 4.0. But most of the education and the people are at around 2.5 levels. So this gap between 2 to 2.5 levels and 4 levels is huge. And I'm sure that, at this level, we need to address people at the very, very childhood. So I'll come back to Sriranjan, sir. I'll come back to him and I'll try to understand, sir. It is important. You told that there is a decreasing returns to scale as, as the age increases. So in the very beginning, how do we create that curiosity in the mind of people? How do we create how do we create power of observation in the minds of people? Because unless and until there is curiosity and power of observation, you cannot create researchers.
Yeah. Okay.
Real researchers would be, when there's curiosity on a subject.
Yeah.
And basically, you've been trying to increase that curiosity amongst the students. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll just come to the correct slide. You see, it is here that the child development in early childhood, where you give on the physical domain, on motor development, on language development, on cognitive development of all aspects, the socio-emotional development, and I have added creative and aesthetic appreciation as well as scientific temperament. So if you bring this holistic, as Dr. Raman has mentioned, holistic treatment to the child as a continuous learning process. So this is important. Okay. Now, the second aspect I would like to mention, that in the early childhood, there is sensitive periods for early development. I often say that the journey of a child from womb to Achal, and Achal to Angan, and Angan to Anganwadi, and the world is such a tedious job that it requires multiple resources and multiple compassion and hand holding. you know, we all know that binocular vision, central auditory system, all these do not develop before age 3 or age 2. Similarly, peer social skill, they only emerge at as 3. That is why preschool or play school you should not send before age 3. Similarly, school you should not send before age 6 generally, and even preschool or even primary school should have first 2 years as the school readiness or the school transition mode. Okay, so this is important. The second aspect, and in this, now what can be done? I'll go to this issue, that we need to launch a massive awareness and understanding of community on early childhood, the importance of nature, as well as the nature is biggest teacher. Even engineers, biomimicry is known to be the invention minefield. In fact, biomimicry is the area where industry and technology adopts a lot of things from nature. Similarly, the nurture has to be done. The second aspect is that we need to bring, you know, in our society, time has gone now to, we need to bring primacy of duty. We have not brought primacy of duty. We have only talked about rights, and rights have led to certain difficulty. In childhood, primacy of duty is important. Honorable President, in his address to Parliament, had mentioned that 2020 should be the decade of duty. Now, it is time for us to rewrite, to attend, and maybe in the next 15 years, we'll be able to create a very rich heritage of potential. Professor Xavier had, Brother Xavier had mentioned very important issue of Gurukul Parampara, that is mentoring. And it is here that we need to involve our elderly. You know, in the next 15 years, our population demography will shift. It has already started shifting. So if we involve elderly, and the folk artists, craftspersons, scientists, players, and all productive section of society to actually get involved in the social play school or in their family, make the parents learn how to you know, linguistic, by rhyming of the word run, fun, sun, ton, all these kind of thing. You can increase the vocabulary and also the linguistic learning. So encourage play with your children, with the family. The implement the in the governmental framework. Unfortunately, all the hard work which was done has somehow been missed out. There are two important issues I would like to mention this. You know, earlier, today there is no accountability of a state government to the national investment in the social sector. Earlier, planning commission used to ask the details, and every year plan discussion will take place. With the devolution going to the states, that accountability framework is missing. There has to be certain important shift in this direction, and there has to be human resource development in a big way, building technical competence in a big way. So coming back to the whole range of full spectrum of care and learning, we have to have a child-centric holistic approach, a comprehensive policy and action, as well as curriculum on this, an integrated multi-sectoral approach, because nutrition comes from the food, the horticulture, the processed food, the fortification of food, and all the dimension, water and sanitation, all other aspects, healthcare and other care aspects. Supportive supervision is required from many important technical people, effective continuous training of human resource and primary caregivers, including the parents, and advocacy with the community and parents. This is very important to create, and a system of having an adequate feedback and creating a very,
Wonderful.
very proactive affirmative action. And that is where last one point. You know, Professor Mr. Pillai had mentioned about the rules of the game. Now, actually, in industry or technology, those who are the first mover or who are the launcher of technology or industry, they set the rules, right? So we know, they like, say, very I often give this example that hockey, we knew the technique, we were the first to introduce hockey to the international arena, but we forgot this the moment, or we started losing the day international rules, international turfs were changed. Similarly, in the game of AI or artificial intelligence or very intensive technocratic world, India will lose. India will always explore the softer dimension of discipline, attitude, thinking out of box, transcending the boundary, humane approach to entire aspect, rather than very ruthless, robotic attitude of technocracy. Thank you very much. This is my book on child development and nutrition, the Indian experience, which I had done. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot. Professor Xavier, now I'll come back to you again. How do you think the future leaders would be created, for the industry, for industry 4.0 to industry X.0? How do you think we'll create future leaders, through education? Like, what role education has in creating future leaders? Over to you, sir.
Okay. I think that was the first point anyway I was going to talk about.
Thank you.
So one of the things that comes out very clearly,
Okay, we'll come back to Professor Xavier after some time when the technical glitch is addressed. Over to you, Raman Jha, sir. How do you feel, what role education has to play to create future leaders of tomorrow?
Thank you. Can I share my slides once again?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe I'll have 5 minutes ahead, so I'll begin quickly going through my slides. See, one
So
very
we have 3
important
minutes,
point.
please, sir.
Pardon?
We have 3 minutes. We are running against time.
All right, all right. The university's role has been enlarged. So this is what I have tried to put here. It is not just giving degree. It has to work on entrepreneurship, a part of a student career orientation, skill and startup, vocational education, employment opportunities, teaching and research, industry interaction and collaboration, innovation, incubation, and ultimately the life skills. Any university which has to succeed with the student and real development of the society has to include all these. These are the hallmarks which Sri Ranjan sir also earmarked. The awareness about the human values itself, the healthcare, environment, the academic communication theory, the governance, because the governance is most important. In case that is not transparent, honest and faithful and supportive, then the things can go bad. And it has to be all-inclusive approach with all law and justice, so that the trade and business as well as research works to the extent of our expectations. Well, this is what I would say now it should be the purpose of education system, because system we are talking about, which must be self-dependent as well as self-sustaining. So you can look at it, if you look at it, the first point, which is be aware, awareness about everything going around in the society, initiate things which are good for the stakeholders, realize what you are doing and understand that you are putting in your best, take care of the things that you are working on, and look at the developmental area which can actually build a better society, then create new knowledge based on what you have done, your experience in learning. The next gen rearing is another very important aspect which the university or the college has to take on, and then ultimately contribute to the society, then innovate and evolve and self-actualize. So this is the cycle, and which is the real purpose of education system. If you are on the crossroad today, well, these are posts which will make us aware. The only thing is we got to implement it, and therefore the leader is very important, as you suggested. How does a leadership role make a difference is very clear, and we see that we can also have some suggestion. We can have multiple entry, multiple exit policy based on the hop on and hop off system. International students can become a challenge because of the situation which we have. Degree and job availability may come down. Self-employment and entrepreneurship therefore will have to take on the front sheet. And then social status building of skilled energy workforce is very important, as I understand, because people are not getting into the skilled job possibly because they don't have the social status attached to it. The future skill is the future, and I have already talked on the blended pedagogy earlier, and the lifelong learning and the wholesome development, which remains the prime focus. Some policy suggestions if we have, if you look at it, education market will become worth 10 trillion globally by 2030. Therefore, a tremendous work on skilling, upskilling and reskilling will be a requirement. You cannot just shy away from here. And the approach which Sri Ranjan sir brought out, the areas where Indians can contribute are very much correct. So COVIDians, as we call this generation now, they'll fall in the category of restoration. These people who have suffered on account of either education or any losses in the industry, the government has to bear with these losses, and somehow they fall in the category of restoration. Full support to research has to be given even in this time of COVID. Accreditation to be given time, because the government should not start expecting that every new or the present system college or university will be at the top of its performance. The RBI should categorize education as a priority sector for loans. Student education loan can be made interest free. Subsidies for internet facilities should come, because most of the things will go on at least for another 1 year in this platform. Increase in the intake and less regulation will help bring the status back, and may Goddess bless us all, the Goddess of learning. So I was talking about the crisis in the leadership. I would profess if we can talk straight, listen first, keep our commitments, demonstrate respect, create transparency, right wrong options can be evaluated and understood, show the loyalty for the purpose as well as the organization. We must deliver results, get better, confront reality as very clearly spelled out by Pillai sir, and then clarify expectation from each one of us. So individual focus has to be there. Practice accountability, which is our, I would say, bad present. I can put that, and then extend the trust with all these things. The crisis of leadership can be taken care of. Yes, sir.
Wonderful. So, what we were, Acha, you have something to add to it?
I have just maybe two or three more slides. Just to
if you can quickly go through it.
I'll just put the points and read it out. Just prioritize, then faculty training and scientific exploration. I'll go and skip some things. We can think of age codes and age-based education, which was my research in these particular years. I have also tried to reduce and find out a concept of a career tree-based career identification. Since there are people in engineering education or engineering arena who are not really fit for engineering. There are people who become teachers, they are not fit for becoming teachers. There are people who are writers who do not know how to write and what to do. So there can be an identification made, and one has tried to work and reduce these 12,000 career options to just 12 domains. So one life can choose 1 out of 12 routes which is available, and therefore each life equivalence has been made to one tree, 12 career destinations for 12 routes. So if you have only one choice made in life, you still will have around 1,000 jobs or career options available. Instead of a job, one should now think of a job to joy to passion. So I would differ Pillai sir a bit, that in case we have education only gearing for a job, that will be rather a catastrophe at the end. It will not be able to come out. So we have 12 trees here made for all of you to choose. First is the medicine and health studies, the management, then the commerce, engineering, technology, manufacturing, physical sciences, tourism and hospitality, general services, army and security, legal services, sports and yogic sciences, social sciences and research and development. If one can choose one area and work in that direction, I think education
Sure.
is available online. Thank you.
Sure. So,
Thank you.
what I would like to say here is that both Mr. Pillai and Raman Jha both are on the same plane. Why I'll say so? Mr. Pillai was talking about what is prevailing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Dr. Raman Jha was telling us
Reality.
what should be, right?
Yeah.
So the point is that they're talking of the same thing. Even Mr. Pillai is talking, that it needs a bit of change. But as of now, people are talking of job, and that is a reality. Let me tell you why I'll say so.
Yeah, that's a reality, no doubt.
Initially, what used to happen is entrepreneurs were never given the due credit. Never. If a person had to marry his daughter, he would prefer a government clerk
Yeah.
to an entrepreneur. That was the reality. That is changing now. It is slowly changing, but that change can be experienced slowly. And this is a welcoming change. We were so risk averse in the earlier. Education does not allow us to take risks. Our education was always talking of something, a world that was very fixed and frigid. But the world is always in a flow, and it is always in a change. We never taught students to keep pace with the change, to adjust to change, and to lead change. So that is something that is going to play a very important role, because as everyone is agreeing that the speed of change has increased, and because the change has increased, the coping mechanisms to students, the coping mechanisms have to be higher. The risk-taking ability has to be there in students. So I'll take my last shot and I'll go to Mr. Pillai. What do you think should be important things for a leader? What leadership qualities? What are the things that you want in a leader?
The question is so interesting and it is so wide that one can't give an answer in a
You
line.
can give a hint. You can just give a direction.
Yeah, definitely. One of the fundamental things about a leader is he should be truthful, and that is I think the first important. Let me give you an example. Perhaps the audience may also will appreciate that. What is the difference between a leader and a non-leader? When we are in school, we have a monitor in class. Generally, in every school, there's a monitor in class. The monitor is generally, please pardon my being very frank, if the child's father is in a good post, he's a police DYSP, or he's a big doctor, or whatever be the reason, that child is made the monitor. And the monitor goes on standing when the teacher is not in the class, please be silent, please be silent. Nobody listens to her or him. But you will find in the class, there is one boy or one girl who is not a front bencher, who is not, maybe sometimes the last bencher. He comes and stands something and everybody listens to him. That is the leader. So coming back, leadership is one very important thing. I think you would ask the question to you, Professor Xavier. It cannot be taught. You learn. And that exactly I said, when you are you can't learn theory of leadership. There is no course in any institute. You have a management MBA is there, but you do not have a MLA or something like that. So you have to learn. When you are in a football field, you look and you become a leader in a football field. Similarly is the case. So when you look at leader, you look at Mahendra Singh Dhoni, you have to look at people. He became a leader with what? With bare minimum academic qualifications or any. So similarly in business, a leader has to be truthful. A leader has to be able to take risks. And a leader has to be able to, own responsibility for any failure. I'm not going to Dr. Kalam's book, which is a very famous point he has got about Satish Dhawan. Perhaps, I don't know if people are aware of that. Dr. Kalam said, so I don't want to spend the time there. So a leader is that point. Now, when you are talking about leader, I would also like to make one point very clear. you do not find leaders who are the top rankers in the universities. If you make an analysis, you will find that almost 85% of the leaders have not been top rankers in the university. What does it prove? A theoretical knowledge is not sufficient to become a leader. That is
Great.
one. I have one point to add, just a small point, because there's a lot of discussion. I'm also very passionate about primary education. I think one thing, I will not take much time, we are already running late. We have to follow the Japanese model for primary education. What is the Japanese model? There's only one uniform across the country. There's one syllabus across the country. What does happen in India? There is different schools have different uniform. Have different syllabus. You can make out from the uniform of the child that this child is going to a posh school. I think that should go. A primary education should really be common for across. One more point with regard to the syllabus, which is very important. Why are we so backrooted? Why are we so laid back? Because we're not changing syllabus. I'll give a simple example. For nuclear energy, what does the syllabus say? The syllabus says nuclear energy is harmful. In 1944, there was an atomic explosion in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is so many people died. I think that is today cannot be a syllabus at all. Today, the syllabus should be how nuclear energy can do great wonders in our own society, in our own purpose. So my point is, yes, a lot of changes have to happen. And last point, just last point. Somebody asked, what do people look? If I go to interview candidates or MBA students from various universities, there's always a feeling, what does the interviewer, what does the industry experts look at people? Is it knowledge? No. Is it attitude? No. Is it how does it look good? No. One thing which everybody looks at it is his entrepreneurial skill. Whether he may be working, but whether he has got an entrepreneurial skill. The Hay Group, which is one of the largest, HR consulting company in the world, has done a survey across the globe and found out that entrepreneurship is the one which is the most important, not for starting the industry, but for becoming a part of even if you're working in a company, you're working for any company, you have to be thinking that I own the company whole. This is my take. Yeah.
So entrepreneurship is certainly catching up, and entrepreneurs in existing organization, as we call them, intrapreneurs. So probably you're talking of both entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs when you're talking of entrepreneurs, right? So both are very important, because we cannot have only entrepreneurs everywhere. We need both entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. So I'll come back to Professor Xavier. I think he's right back again.
Yeah. Thank
Professor
you.
Xavier.
Yeah, thank you, Santosh. There's some conspiracy, so I get cut off every time I try to speak. The power goes off here. All right. Just 2 points. One is, of course, you asked about the leadership. So leader is someone who has to learn on the fly and learn continuously, learning to learn. Now, for example, I did my MBA, PhD from IIM Calcutta. But then a lot of what I do today has nothing to do with what I studied there, because I had to learn. Everything has changed. There are very few people, learn. So you have to learn continuously. So this is where I'm suggesting the hop on, hop off model. Okay.
Correct,
The
sir.
second aspect which I wanted to talk about is this online education. Should we really go for a completely online or partly online, partly offline? You also mentioned about hybrid, etc. So this is where I have been advocating the Uberization of education.
Correct.
So basically independent educational institutions will remain, but then they will all be connected by some bigger player, and that bigger player will offer 50% of courses online and 50% courses you locally do for the local needs. So something
It
like
has already
that.
Started, sir.
Yeah,
It has already started. Yeah.
Exactly. So the future is that you will have this kind of hybrid models. It's not that actually we will completely do away with face-to-face teaching, but certainly some kind of a mix of this. Reliance JioMart is doing exactly that. So they are co-opting all the retail stores, the mom and pop stores, giving them
Correct.
an app, and then linking them to JioMart. So like Oyo hotels, they'll have this one. Yeah, this is the other one. And finally, teachers. So what will happen to teachers? So that is an issue. I mean, certainly there will be a shakeout. The good ones will survive. A lot of bad ones will actually fall out. It is bound to happen because we have to improve the efficiency of the education system. That is possible only when you actually Uberize, centralize, and then actually have same teacher, good teachers reaching out to large number of people. I think this is bound to happen. Good teachers will be, will be in very, very great demand. Everybody will invite them. They will teach in many different places. They learn 4 to 5 times what they are earning today. Bad teachers will fall by the wayside. This is my own, my assessment of what is likely to happen. Thanks, Santosh.
So I'm sure that, as your technology takes up, certainly there'll be certain jobs that we lose, but it will also create many more jobs, right? So that upskilling and reskilling, if it is not there, the people who are not involved, who are not, on the move, they'll have to suffer. For them,
Correct.
the evolution will not stop. That is very clear. We have to take along with them. There is no doubt about it. But if people don't want to come along, evolution is not going to stop for them. And I think education is on the move with this, huge discussion. I'm sure a lot of educationists, a lot of parents, a lot of students will get an idea as to how they'll have to look at future. We have, I'm writing a next book called Making of a New World. And in that Making of a New World, while I was writing that book, I'm seeing the skill gap. There's a huge skill gap. Now, how do we bridge this skill gap is something, we need to, it's a big challenge. Because if you just try to see what is going to happen in the next few years, it is, we are really not ready for it. I have some questions from people on Facebook, so I would love you all to answer those questions. The first question is from Mr. Rajat Bhattacharya. Now he's asked, when Gurukula system was in existence, then education was for limited to upper class. Hence, teachers were responsible for limited students. My question is that how we will envisage Gurukul model now when education is now for the masses? Of course, technology will be the lead, but I'll love you to elaborate.
Okay. Yeah, basically, what I had also given him little answer in the Facebook itself already, but for the benefit of others, what you have to understand is technology is a great equalizer. It's a great leveler.
It's a leveler.
Yeah. So what was only available to kings and the royalty now is available to the common man thanks to the technology. So today, fan is there in every house. You have television sets in every house. You have everything there, So today, knowledge is also becoming actually, easily be available today. So if you have a basic education, you don't need a formal education. One can always go to YouTube,
right,
learn on your own,
right,
and content is freely available everywhere. And content is now going to be dubbed in regional languages, and the AICT is working on it. So you will have contents available in Bhojpuri, Nagpuri, all these things. So technology is a great leveler. It will take education to everybody. And I said the model of Uberization model will customize. At the same time, it will actually, consolidate.
Wonderful.
This will happen.
Sir, when I was a student, my teacher used to tell me that you should concentrate, you should know how, you should learn this. But we never address how do we concentrate, how do we learn? So I think a lot of things, how do we innovate? How do we strategize? How do we change? We are not answering these questions. You should change, everyone is talking of. You should be innovative, everyone is talking about. But I think we need to go a bit deeper and try to understand how we can, create it as a process and help people to, follow that so that, they'll be able to.
Santosh, here, what our not Raman sir, our Sri Ranjan sir, what he was talking, that primary level education should actually develop that inquisitiveness,
yes,
questioning ability. Today, what we do is, do what I say.
Correct.
don't ask questions. So you are wrong. This is how we are teaching them. I think we need to, nurture that critical thinking ability right at the school level. Once we do that, then children will develop into creative, innovative, and they will explore many different things. Otherwise, what happens is you are conformist and you don't want to go beyond your comfort zone. That's what is actually killing people.
The second
Exactly.
thing is,
Exactly. I totally
Santosh ji-
agree to you, sir.
Santosh ji, that just to add, just to supplement that, we actually require mentor in what Gurukul was. Today Gurukul is also virtual.
Agree,
So
sir.
so there are mentors who have experience.
Yes.
And learning is an experience. If somebody thinks it is a rote learning or it will happen by degree, it will not happen. Whether it is apprenticeship, whether it is a skill aspect, whether it is attitude and orientations, all these will happen through mentors, whether they are your parents, whether they are your neighbors, whether they are your kith and kin, peer learning, your friend, your philosopher, your guide, whatever you can select. So that is the aspect of Gurukul today.
Sure. There's another question, and this is for Pillai, sir. Online training is growing at a major rate. This gives us a chance to incorporate industry required skills with the current graduates. A training program is required that students go through before joining any organization to really understand the role and how can they grow in their space. How can we create something like that? This is by Rishabh Malik.
Well, the question, can you repeat the question? Because
Sir, it is online training is growing at a major rate. This gives us a chance to incorporate industry required skills with the current graduates. A training program is required that students go through before joining any organization to really understand their role and how they grow in their space. How can we create? I think we've discussed wherein we talked about how Ernst & Young and Deloitte is creating orientation programs are there. You can actually take it forward, sir.
Yeah, so basically what happens is today the selection process of many industry is changing, particularly in the software field. I'll give an example. Some of the selection process in a software industry is you can apply, they give you a problem. If you are able to solve it, you are selected. If you're not able to solve it, you're out.
Your degrees are not they're not interested in the degrees.
What degree you have, which college you are studying, absolutely low. So they look at you as an individual. So that is what. So there is changes are happening. Why the actual earlier people used to go to an industry for a training of maybe 1.5 months, 2 months, 3 months. It was just to have a feel of the industry.
Correct.
Through effect, the videos will give you some idea. But as I said that yes, if you are in an industry for at least 1 month, you really come to know exactly how the things are there. But it will again change. More of online will happen because that will really change the world.
Sure. Now a question for Professor Raman Jha, for Dr. Raman Jha. The question to you, sir, is, as you talked of virtual labs, how effective and engaging these virtual labs are and matches the actual lab teaching actually? Also, please share the resources where students can access virtual labs. I think you gave one link.
Yeah, I had given a link there. This was vlab.co.in.
Correct.
Virtuallab.co.in is the Indian system with the lead being taken by IIT Delhi. Let me tell you how the virtual labs have evolved in outside countries in US, UK, Germany and advanced countries. Say, if I give you an example, say biotechnology lab, you will have an icon and you press that, the door will open. You can have n number of options which lab you want to get in. You press another button there and you get into that lab, and then you see the number of instruments and very big setup already available. Then you take what are the ingredients required. You choose this and this with the percentage mix. Then you have to choose, and the software will guide you through, and the experiment will come, and then you may see the acid splashing on your eye.
Wow.
Now that's a virtual field, but the real, almost real field. It is
And the
available.
virtual reality is going to really create actual virtual labs, right?
Absolutely. It is already in place across the globe, but India still has to catch on. But a lot of things have been already done by IITs. So
Wonderful.
please have it.
Wonderful to hear from that. There's a very interesting, insight by one of our listeners, Mr. Sanjay Mishra. He says it was excellent presentation sharing by four eminent speakers. Felt that will it not be better if industry and student interaction starts not at college level, rather at school level?
Absolutely.
The association should
Absolutely.
be a long term where a group of industries get together to take care of the students. I really appreciate this idea, who have been trained and aligned as per their requirement. So if there are certain industries, certain companies who can come, who can mentor some of the schools, and they give a feel of how industry looks like, how work looks like, and all those things right from the very beginning. Just a very casual, it starts casually and slowly they get a hang of it, they get a feel of it, so that they better understand that why they are studying, because we don't know why we are studying, we don't know why we are learning a formula. We are not worried about the concept, we are just worried about how to use that formula. So this needs to change, and probably if the industry, if they catch hold of the students early, probably this may change.
Yeah,
I think Pillai wanted to speak something.
yeah.
Please go
I
on.
think it's a fantastic question. And let me tell you, two organizations in the country are doing this in a very systematic manner. ISRO, the Department of Space, they, as well as the Department of Atomic Energy for Nuclear, they go to the schools across the country, tell them, see, what do a common man know about the space? They think that a rocket is flying up, it goes, nothing else. But a space agency has got lot of work, lot of, not the hardware, but the software. You need a lot of scientists, you need a lot of botanists, you need a lot of zoology people, you need a lot of physics people. So what ISRO does is goes to schools and tell them that here there is a fantastic opportunity for you, and they start tackling or teaching or coaching or even attracting the students. Same case is with Department of Atomic Energy. They go to the schools and tell them that what is the nuclear energy, what it can do. Many people do not know that nuclear energy, with that you can actually have nuclear irradiators. You heard in the recent finance minister speech also. I have been actually privileged to go as part of the speakers from both Department of Space and the Department of Nuclear Energy to schools. So, but to what Mr. Mishra said, I think this is in a very limited way, but I think industries, perhaps they can go to school, localized industry, maybe companies like HEC or other industries, TISCO, in schools they can go, start telling them what is an engineering, what does the industry looks like it. It will really, kindle that knowledge, kindle that,
it will trigger that
awareness.
interest, it will arise that curiosity.
Absolutely. Good point.
Okay.
That's a very good
we are
point.
running out of time. We have a lot of questions, but we are running out of time. So I think we should conclude. And what we realize is that, yes, there is a skill gap, and the education industry needs a change, and it needs a change right at the very, beginning of a child's birth. So if that is addressed and that is taken care of, then then I think a lot of things have been addressed, because 80 to 90% of the development is taking place right there. But unfortunately, we are not addressing places where it matters. And of course, once that is addressed, the school education, the university education, and the professional education will actually look very different, because the students would be much better prepared to deal with it. I thank all of you. It was a wonderful session. And I'm sure that everyone around here who's listening to us or who's interested in education will get something out of it that will be really beneficial. I'm sure we'll come back again on education with better ideas, with more answers, because I'm still having a lot of questions coming in, but I won't be able to take. I'm very sorry this time, but we'll surely address it next time. Thanks a lot. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.